nights that, I'd wake up and I'd just cry, like, what did I do? Like, why did I do this? Like that kind of transformation, transition into this knowing that I had. It took a real human amount of emotional processing. But how was it? It was life. It was scary. It was real. It was joyful. It was all of the things that life is. It was life. It just wasn't boring.
Hi, and welcome to the Ronin Mindset. My name is Steve Didier, and this is the podcast for you if you are looking to break free from the 9 to 5 grind, escape the matrix, and thrive while traveling the world. And our guest today, Lainie Liberti, is going to have some really, really cool nuggets for you since she has been on the road for a while. Lainie is a best-selling author, international speaker, community leader, teen mentor, and alternative education advocate who helps spearhead the thriving world schooling movement. As a result of the 2008 California economy crash, Liberty closed her Los Angeles-based branding agency. Liberty and her 9-year-old son, Miro, decided to be the change instead of the victims and chose a life of adventure. After selling all of their possessions, Lainie and her son hit the road for what was to be a one-year adventure in 2009. After 13 years in almost 50 countries, the pair calls Guanajuato, Mexico, their home. Lainie Liberty, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. You have got a wealth of experience. So let's start with where are you at right now? You're saying Guanajuato.
Yes, Guanajuato, Mexico. And I said that we traveled, or in the bio, it said we traveled for 13 years. And in addition to 3 years, actually 4 years now, almost 4 years, being using Guanajuato as our base, so living here. So we
Okay.
left States, we left our home country 16 years ago, which is crazy to me.
A long time. Time flies because I followed somewhat of a similar path. I got wiped out in the crash of 2008. I had a real estate business in Vegas.
Oh,
And it took me a little bit longer to adjust my mindset to my new kind of identity. But yeah, in 2013, I hit the road and I've been nomading or slow matting ever since. But Mexico has been my home base for quite a few of those. For me, it was 11 years.
wow, yeah, much longer than us. We found that Latin America spoke to us, called us. It still is where our heart is. Even though we've been to Europe and Africa and Asia, we always come back to Latin America. We spent 3 years in Peru, about a year as a base in Ecuador, and various times in various countries. But we found that Mexico, we weren't planning on being here, but this is just where we happened to be when the world shut down, and well, we stayed. And so here we are. You got to be
And
somewhere.
yeah, you got to be somewhere. It's not a bad place because I
Oh,
had gone back to the US for a little bit. So when the pandemic hit, I was in Phoenix,
okay.
which as places go wasn't too bad, but there were very, very few places that would allow travel. So I think in 2020, I took 5 trips to Mexico.
Yeah.
So just to get out.
Yeah. 2020 and 20, well, actually 2021 and into 2022, I took a trip every month, but a national trip. So I explored different areas, and flights were super cheap during the pandemic. So I went to Zihuatanejo. I just went all over. I was, where can I fly to cheaply? And I take a week trip. So I really
Yeah.
got to explore this country during the pandemic, and it was a lot of fun.
Mexico's got so much to offer. What made you choose Guanajuato?
For me, well, my heart and my son also, we both love the mountains. And
Mm,
actually, we didn't know that until we fell in love with Peru 10 years ago. And we were in the Sacred Valley. And that was really the first time in my life coming from downtown LA. But that was the first time in my life that I fell in love with nature. And
mm.
I grew up around the beaches, and it just was beach, you know
Yeah.
falling in love with the valleys and nature and mountains and trails and hiking and rock climbing and going hiking into the mountains. Like that was for me the biggest sort of eye-opening connection that I had to nature, and I just loved it. Absolutely, absolutely loved it. So yeah,
Gotta go
Peru.
with your heart.
Yeah. And so when the pandemic hit, I actually happened to be at the beach for a conference when the world shut down. And I was like, I'm not staying here. I remember there's this mountain town that I love. If I have to be somewhere, I'm going there.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm here.
That's awesome. Yeah, Mexico's got a lot of different, there's the tropics, you got the mountains. I'm in Monterrey, Mexico right now, and it's very mountainous. But right now, especially, it's getting a little too cold for my taste. But
Yeah.
I do like the hikes, and they've got some really incredible, the whole city is surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
So no matter which way you drive, you can find something to climb. But I spent a good deal of time in Colorado Springs
Oh,
because I ended up there when I was in the Army. I was stationed at Fort Carson. It was my last duty station was out of Fort Carson, and so I spent a lot of time in the mountains, freezing my butt off, playing war games and things like that. So I think that really soured me on the cold in the mountains a little bit.
I get it. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't, but I get it.
There is something special, but yeah, it's like the mountains I love visiting as long as I can go back to someplace warm.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're kind of the polar opposite of that.
And I didn't plan it that way. Again, growing up in LA, beach was part of my not every day, but it was part of, my normal. We'd go to the beach. It's
Yeah,
30 minutes away. We go to the beach, go to the beach at night, go have a campfire, to go to the beach.
yeah. No, that's a very LA, very Southern California thing.
Yeah.
It is. Now, what was it about? Obviously, you've traveled the world. You've got 50 plus countries under your belt. What is it about Latin America that speaks to you? What is it that makes you want to kind of base out of here for the most part?
So when I was in my 20s, I traveled all over Europe. I hitchhiked. I spent a year exploring, and it was the most freeing and wonderful sort of uh, exposure to culture that I had studied, and I loved it. I loved it. So I do love Europe. And I was drawn to Latin America because it was in my backyard and I had never explored it. And so I thought when my son and I decided to take off to travel for a year, that would be an amazing adventure. Let's learn about a place that's really close to us and historically relevant to our own experiences. So we set out to travel for a year. Our plan was to travel from Mexico down to Argentina and take a year doing it and travel, at the speed that we wanted to travel and, um, just experience that. Um, our first trip, our first country was Mexico.
Mm.
And even though I had been to Mexico, I'd been to Tijuana and Cancun, as a young adult and so forth, and the tourist places, I
Yeah,
started to see places in Mexico that were so rich in culture and food, and it didn't match the scary stories I had been told. I'd been
yeah,
told that scary people live down there, scary brown people. And I don't,
yeah,
I live in Mexico. I'm not, these were the stories that I was told. These were people, quote unquote, to be afraid of.
yeah.
And when my experiences didn't match those ideas, I started to exhale and sort of relax into being present and connecting with the culture. And then we headed farther south and we went into Guatemala, and people were saying, "Don't go there, it's scary. There's scary people there." And the same experience happened. We met families, we met moms and dads with children and beautiful, warm, kind, giving people. And even though at that time we didn't speak a lick of Spanish, people were inviting us into their homes and sharing the little that they had. And it became this really wonderful um sense of connection to ourselves, letting go of the fear, and just dispelling and rewriting these really destructive ideas we had about Latin America. And that allowed us to go further and further and further. And the further we went, the further south we went, we started to travel slower and slower and really immerse ourselves. And it was less about the wide, I went to this city and saw that thing and checked this off my list. It was more about immersing and really being there and being present, not only with ourselves and with my child,
Yeah.
young child at that time, but also with the places. And my son was able to pick up Spanish much quicker than I did. And he started to make friends and converse in Spanish, very rudimentary at first, but he
Yeah.
understood and played with
It's
kids on playgrounds.
so much easier to pick
Oh
up
my,
the language when you're younger. So much easier.
so much. And the
I'm
language
jealous.
part of why it kept bringing us back here, because other places we went to, like, we're putting so much energy and thought into being able to communicating with locals, not
Yeah.
expats, communicating with people in the countries that we were going to. That was the point of traveling, not other travelers, even though that became also a balanced, important part of our travels as well. But the language is something that helps you connect. I wish I was fluent now. I'm not yet, but I can communicate and speak in an intermediate way. And my son is local fluent here.
Yeah, I'm about the same way. I thought it would be so easy learning Spanish when I first got down to Mexico because I had taken 1 year of French in high school. I have no idea why. They're like, you have to take a language. I'm like, what's available? Like French and Spanish. I'm like, I don't care, whatever is convenient with my schedule. And I didn't really pay attention to it, but I picked it up so easy. I was half-ass paying attention in class, and I just picked it up. Fast forward when I was moving to Mexico, I'm like, okay, that was my experience with language. This will be a breeze. But it's so much different, like between 15 and 40,
Yeah.
our neuroplasticity and everything else, it's so difficult. Then I'm about the same as you. I can get by, I can communicate. My grammar is not correct. I can get my ideas across. I can understand people if they slow it
Yeah.
down for me, But what you were saying about the everybody thinks Mexico and Latin America in general is so dangerous. But in the US, obviously, we're just bombarded with this news of how it's so dangerous and there's this whole thing. And then you get down here, and like you said, your experiences don't match the story that you were told.
Absolutely.
It's universal, though. It's universal because I went to Colombia for like 3 weeks and I was based out of Playa del Carmen at the time. And when I was moving to Mexico, my friends just about held a funeral for me. They're like, oh my God, you're going to die. I'm like, ah, here we go. But then I was leaving Mexico, I'm going to Colombia, and all my Mexican friends were like, oh, bro, be careful, man. Colombia is dangerous. Dude, Colombia is dangerous. And I get to Colombia, and I've got a few friends in Colombia that I've met through the years, and I'm visiting them. And they're like, man, can't believe you live in Mexico. That's so freaking dangerous. Like,
I know.
everybody thinks everybody else is dangerous. It's so funny.
So crazy. I mean, we heard that when we lived in Peru and we'd go to Ecuador for a quick trip or so. And our Peruvian friends are, oh, Ecuador, don't go there. That's the scariest place in the world. And then the Ecuadorians, you live in Peru? What? You know,
Yeah.
it's so crazy. Fear of others. What is that about?
It's bad things can happen anywhere, but if you're not involved in the drug trade somehow and you're not being stupid, your chances of running in trouble are very, very slim.
Very slim indeed. And I do believe that fear is part of the cultural message to keep us separated and to keep us focused in a nationalistic kind of mindset.
Oh, 100%. And it's a great control mechanism.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you can control the masses through fear better than anything else. We saw that through with COVID, because you hear this thing and then your experience doesn't match what they're telling you. It's like, weird, isn't it?
Yeah. I think travel has helped me to really expand my mindset into kind of a theme. And the theme is question everything. Just don't accept it, just on its face value. Question everything. And if it
Question
doesn't
everything,
make sense,
especially if it's coming from the government.
especially
Especially. Question it twice. But
question
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So Guanajuato. Now you said that you've been based out of there for a while. Is this kind of where your home base is now? You're pretty much set there?
Yeah, I'm here. Just about 6 months ago, my son and I opened up a cafe in the center of town. So
Oh,
that makes our travel days, it's different. We were nomadic for 13 years, and now we're settled here in Mexico as an immigrant. I don't like the word expat either because that separates us. We have immigrated to this country. We have
right.
immigrated to this country. No greater, no worse than anybody else who has immigrated to the United States, which is where we're from, right?
Yeah.
So we are immigrants here, and as immigrants, we opened up a cafe. Um, and so that keeps us focused and centered here now. I also have dogs and a garden, which is the craziest thing from living nomadically to having dogs in a garden and a cafe. But
Oh, you got roots now.
we got roots. Our cafe is a board game cafe. So we brought with us the spirit of playfulness to this culture and community. And I look at it as an offering. It's not just we're here to make, money. That's if we
Yeah.
were here only to make money, we wouldn't open a cafe. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah. You're not going to get rich, but
you
it's
know,
good. What kind of dogs do you have?
I have two wonderful Mexican street dogs. And
Ah,
yeah, they're just adorable. They came to me.
I
Yeah.
came, well, when I first started traveling, I had a dog.
Oh, wow.
So that's one of the reasons that I chose Mexico specifically because I drove from Las Vegas all the way down to Playa del Carmen
With your dog in the car.
with my dog. And it wasn't easy to travel with. I mean, he was easy to travel, but just having a 100-pound pit bull makes
Oh, no.
travel a little bit difficult. Yeah. Because, there's certain hotels you can't stay in. Going on planes is rough. So I stayed a lot in Latin America. I traveled some down, packed up, drove down through Belize and
Yeah.
we hit Guatemala a little bit and all that. But yeah, I was really kind of, I did travel a lot, but that's one of the biggest reasons I kept my home base in Mexico
Yeah.
was him. So,
Amazing.
so he passed away a couple of years ago, and then when that happened, I was like, okay, this is a new chapter. So I packed my bags and I went and spent the year in Asia. So
Oh, nice. Where in
yeah,
Asia did you go?
mostly South. I kept well all Southeast Asia. I spent a lot of time primarily Thailand, Vietnam. Yeah, yeah.
Vietnam,
Got all
Cambodia.
the, got all the. I can't even see them. I got a
Oh,
tattoo
yeah.
from a monk in the mountain in a temple, a Buddhist temple in the mountains of Thailand, northern
Yeah.
Thailand, like Chiang Mai.
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, we spent
So
time
that
there too.
what's that?
We've spent time there too. In fact, this time last year we were in Thailand.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I love it. I've trained Muay Thai since 1997.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I've got some for a Western, I've got some pretty deep ties with the Thai culture because my first coaches that I was with forever were straight from Thailand. So it was
Oh,
a very, very, very authentic type experience
yeah.
training with them.
Of course.
And one of my old coaches actually, he left the US and he's got a school in Bangkok now. So I stopped in there
Oh,
a bit. So
lovely. We
yeah.
you mentioned in my intro about Project World School. We were there. We've ran I think 5 or 6, I can't remember, month-long trips in Thailand, which take us from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, or the north, and then we
Yeah.
go into the south. And we've done it like 5 or 6 times. And every time we go to Krabi and Anong, we train Muay Thai. We introduce this tradition with former
Oh,
champions
okay.
Muay Thai in Anong. And the first time we went, he had this teeny little, you know, it's not a studio. What are they called? Gym.
Jim.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, teeny little one in the main part of town in Krabi, and it just, it was very, very small. And we trained with him, and he was just coming up as a retired, Muay Thai champion. And
Yeah.
his pictures are on the wall. This little guy, right? Last time, and then the last 3 years that we had been there, he had moved to this beautiful hillside space, 3 level gym, lots and lots of trainers now, lots and lots of tourists coming to train with them.
Yeah.
And it last year at this time, I was running with the kids and we were doing the workout, and I'm just like, oh. It's a lot.
There,
It's a
there
lot.
is no workout like that. It is intense, and when you do it in Thailand and it's 50 degrees Celsius or 90
Oh,
some degrees Fahrenheit and it's 100% humidity, it is a whole different experience.
my God. And yeah, yeah, very
But
much
you
so.
don't see too many fat Muay Thai guys or girls.
None. I mean, this guy was my age and which is mid 50s or so, right? And
Oh, that's
he
right.
looks like, I mean, he looks like he's maybe 28, 30, maybe
Yeah.
30 at the latest, like really lean, very, agile, just, the first, I'm sorry, we'll get off this
No,
topic.
listen.
The first time I remember in that really small studio, I'm with the teens and we're all doing a Muay Thai class. And he comes up to me, he goes, "You punch like a lady boy." Oh my God, thanks.
Damn it. Damn it. Yeah, they're funny. I
Yeah.
love the Thai people. I love that culture. Like the land of smiles says it all. They're very, very welcoming. I
Although my
don't
heart,
know. Oh, what's that?
I would say it does, although my heart is more with Vietnamese people in Vietnam. I find that culture just so warm and engaging.
Yeah, I think a lot of like I've found that in all the Southeast Asia countries I visited, and I don't know. I know, like just like the Latin America and Mexico speaks to you,
Yeah.
Asia speaks to me. Because like I moved back to Mexico uh, for a girl that I started dating. So
Nice.
yeah, but I will. What we have talked about it, and one way or the other, I'm going to be based out of Southeast Asia somewhere. I don't know where though, because I loved Vietnam.
Yeah,
Love the
me.
Philippines, love Thailand. I didn't get a chance to check out Bali while I was there, and I've got some good friends that live there and they absolutely love it. So there's just so many options. So
So
I'm going
many.
to take some time and hit all of them, find out where I want to be, and buy a little beach house or a condo or something and set up shop
And
somewhere.
it's where you'll be. It's funny because every time we're in Asia, yeah, we've been to Japan as well. So every time we've been to Asia, I can't wait to get back to Latin America.
Yeah,
And for me, it's about, you asked me earlier, what is it about? Well, language is one thing and being able to communicate, but it's also the food, which is a second obvious choice. But the third is kind of the messiness. And I don't know how else to describe it other than the messiness of Latin America is kind of this embrace of chaos that makes me feel alive. And when I'm in Japan, I just feel so stifled because it's a beautiful culture, but it is so orderly. It is
yeah,
so restrictive to me. I don't feel that as
very
much.
rigid.
You're rigid. I don't feel that as much in Thailand or in Vietnam, especially. But
Yeah,
just,
they're a little bit more controlled chaos, somewhat like Latin America. I saw some similarities there for sure.
yeah, yeah, very much so. But I just feel at home in Latin America. I just, yeah, this is
That's the
it.
beautiful thing, though. The world is such a huge place, and I think that we owe it to ourselves to travel and see what's available because if you
Mm.
just stay in one spot, you don't know if you really, really like it there or if it's just something you're used to.
Exactly. And as somebody who didn't discover their love for nature until I was in my 40s, I didn't plan it that way. It just, growing up in urban, Los
Oh, it's
Angeles,
about as urban as it gets.
right? And I lived in downtown LA for 20 years. So that's even doubly
Super, yeah,
urban.
super urban. Well, let's
Oh,
talk. Making that transition. So that's a big thing with a lot of people that I talk to who are aspiring to some sort of different life, whether it's nomading, slow madding, expat, whatever it is. A lot of times, obviously, there's the financial aspect of it, but a lot of the other times that I talk to people, it's the mindset. It's that getting over that hump and saying, you know what, I'm gonna make it. Now, I know you said that you guys were okay. You're just gonna do it for a year.
yeah. I
Was
will.
that kind of the mindset that allowed you to take that leap, or kind of how did that work out with you? Especially, and kind of tell me about the that also combined with having a young son and being a single woman as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff going on there.
Lot of stuff. Before we left, one of the things that prompted this trip, besides the external circumstances of the economy crash and so forth, and shutting down my business and being overworked and all of this other stuff, um, was I had this, I was a single parent and I had this child that I always wanted to be a parent. I always, this is my dream. And my child, whom I love dearly, still do, would always say to me, Mom, you're always working. You never spend any time with me. And that broke my heart, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a really good autodidact. I learned so much by exploring and reading and watching podcasts and whatever media. I'm a self-directed learner. And
Yeah.
so I learned everything I could about parenting before I became a parent, and I knew all about the best parenting techniques. The only thing is, I didn't have time to do it, right? Because I just wasn't available.
That's really that's kind no, I'm glad you said that because I hear that a lot too, especially in the US. There's such this hustle culture. People
Yeah.
have kids, but then whether you're a single parent or both parents, usually both parents are working, you don't get a ton of time to spend with your kids. Even if you may want kids, love kids, want to be a mom, but you got to work to pay the bills.
Yeah. And everything that I did, I pre-justified because I'm the provider. I'm providing for your future. And providing for your future. Let's slow that down. Providing for your future doesn't mean being present for now.
Yeah.
And when I finally had these external circumstances pointing me to change, I didn't, spin out of control. I took this as an immediate opportunity and said, let's go take a trip. Let's go do that thing. My heart is broken every time you say you don't spend any time with me because it's true.
Yeah.
So let's go
It's
do
true
that
because it hits a nerve because it's true.
because it's true. And you asked about mindset. One of the things that we decided before we left was to create our family culture, our new family culture. So, what was that going to be? This was one of the things, we were going to say yes to everything within reason. We were going to not live with rules. We were going to live through our values. We were going to question everything. And we were going to be present with each other. And that allowed us to have these guidelines or these sort of foundations. It gave us the structure within the chaos of non structure to just have these experiences. that was about mindset. And it
Yeah.
shifted and changed over time. And learning to be in alignment with your core values helps you make decisions, yes or no. And that yes becomes a full yes. And because my priority was really connecting, reconnecting with my child and having this adventure and having no rules and saying fuck it to the system, I used to be there.
Yep. Well,
um,
it's a lot of people make decisions for their life
yeah.
based on external factors, what society expects of them, what their family may expect of them, whatever. And I think that is one of the key things that anybody thinking about this
Mm.
really get clear on your core values because that can take some time too. It's not just something you can be, okay, this is my core values. It can take some time to really reflect, meditate on it, whatever you do, and figure out who you really are. And then start living according to those.
And you don't need rules or laws or any of those things in your life that are external because the decisions come from within and you know whether you're in alignment or not in alignment. You know that very, very quickly. And if something
Yeah.
doesn't feel in alignment, and to do that in partnership with your child became this wonderful exploration of the inner and the outer worlds. It was a way for us to connect deeper as we were having this side by side partnership experience, and the outer world became this environment to learn, to have these adventures, and to be these like explorers together. But, imagine these two, arm locked in arm, and here we are, us against the world, not really against, but us doing the world. And that's a
Yeah.
horrible way of seeing it too, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that could be a title for a movie, but I'm just gonna leave that one.
I'm not in that one.
Oh, not enough. No, but that's a really fantastic way, I think, to develop a relationship with your child too. And not just develop your relationship, but from a very early stage, help them view the world through a certain lens that is according to their values.
Yes, yes. And to give them space to create their own set of values. And nine times out of 10, what they value may be different than what you value. And it's okay. It's okay. So having
Yeah.
conversations about overlap or things that are not the same and how do we navigate and negotiate through that. I mean, we're business owners together now, and he's about ready to turn 26. He doesn't have to be in business with his mother now. Like,
No,
live your life. I mean, that's
chooses to.
and that is a testament to this kind of parenting. I call it partnership parenting, and this comes from my origins of being a self-identified anarchist, right?
Yeah,
Which means I don't have a ruler. The rules, or I don't even like the word rules, but my direction comes from within, right?
yeah,
So instead of me ruling over the child that I've been, tasked to guide through this, through his childhood,
yeah,
instead of like the top down, you will do it my way, you will have my values, you will live life this way. That's an authoritarian approach.
right,
Instead, it was that side by side thing where we're adventuring. It's us having the adventure. Your likes, desires, needs, and values are important just as mine are to
right,
humans.
right.
I mean,
And obviously giving them guidance that they need because little kids will make some bad decisions, but that's what the parents are there to guide them and help them realize what's going on and everything like that.
absolutely. And by, modeling and by being those virtues that you want to teach, by being,
That that's it. Because you can tell a child everything, anything,
yeah,
but they're going to do what they see. If your actions are not aligned with your words, they're going to pick up on that being inauthentic, and they're not going to listen to anything you have to say.
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
So, so that's good. How was that initially then? Because how old was your son when you first started traveling? Would have had to have been about 13?
No, not a nine, just turning 10.
Oh,
Which
okay, okay.
is like,
I still have the 13 number in my from the bio. It's been 16 years on the road. Okay, so
yeah,
yeah, nine.
yeah,
Okay, so
just turning
how
10.
was that? How what was your mindset and your experience as a single woman with a young child going out?
Yeah, what was my, I mean,
That was a while ago. Was it scary? Was it like, were
there
you?
was a lot of fear that I needed to sort of, I was tightening up and holding on to this fear. Um, and there were nights that, I'd wake up and I'd just cry, like, what did I do? Like, why did I do this? Like that kind of transformation, transition into this knowing that I had. It took a real human amount of emotional processing. But how was it? It was life. It was scary. It was real. It was joyful. It was all of the things that life is. It was life. It just wasn't boring.
It was really living life because
Yeah.
most people, I feel, are just sleepwalking through
Yeah.
life.
I
When you
agree.
have an experience like that, you're living all of the emotional highs and lows, everything. You're truly experiencing life instead of just robotically going through the same actions day after day, kind of half switched on, you know?
And people in Western culture take drugs so they don't have these experiences of
Yeah.
fear, joy, anxiety, whatever. They take drugs to numb themselves from feeling these emotional states. And
Yep.
that wasn't part of our experience. We did, we wanted to have these highs and lows and richnesses of connection to culture and people and you know, all of it was deep, deep feeling, all of that. And the fear started to subside little by little by little. I remember many, many months into our trip, there's a story that I tell, and it's just the silliest stories. We were
Those are the
somewhere.
best kind of stories.
Yeah, they are. We were somewhere in Costa Rica, and we were told, don't go to this town. Everybody insert, like, that fear that we talked about. Don't go here. Those people are scary. Don't do this. We were told, don't go to this town. It's in the middle of the country. It was in the coffee region, and I really wanted to go. Don't go there. There's crime. People are scary. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, but we're going to go. We're going to go. I want to see it. I want to see this area. And I remember we took the bus from San Jose and we get there. And we get off, and I had made a reservation at some hostel or hotel, and I don't speak Spanish in the map. We're moving the phone upside down, trying to figure out where to go. And it's starting to get dark, and somebody says go down this street, and it's an alley, and we've got our backpacks and everything's too heavy and we have too much stuff. And I'm leading my kid around, and we're walking the street that we're supposed to walk down. It becomes this sort of narrow, dark alley, and it's just dusk, and there's a man coming towards us from the other direction. And he starts walking and walking and walking towards us and walking towards us. And I turn and I looked to Miro. I looked at my son and I said, Miro, give me your hand. And he goes, why? And I said, that man has big pants. So I don't even know what that means. I don't know why I said that, but that was the moment of fear, and that's what came out of my mouth. And we just laughed. And so he walked past us. The man with big pants walked past us.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
Big pants.
I don't even know what that means. But that became an awareness to look at when we let our fear go unchecked. It makes us afraid of things that are not really there. I mean, maybe he had big pants, but why is, I mean, what does that even mean? And why would
Yeah.
that be something that I'm afraid of? And
Yeah.
anytime in the future, all we'd have to do is look at each other and say, that man has big pants. We'd just start cracking up. And it would bring us out of this really deep fear moment, which happens in your head. It
It's,
happens.
it's in your head. So much of this fear.
Crazy, crazy.
Let's switch gears. Talk about the World School. Tell me about that.
So, world schooling is a term that refers to using the world around you as a rich environment to learn from. That's what world schooling means. So some people
Yeah,
travel, some people vacation, some people, bring in, host couch surfers from other cultures, and it's that cultural exchange. Some people watch movies from other countries or look at art or
yeah.
study or cook, from other countries. You can world school in many, many ways.
But
We
you have something called Project World
Project
School,
World
correct?
School,
Yeah,
which is a little different. But world schooling itself is kind of a generic term for using the world as your classroom. Project
which I
World,
think is a fantastic idea, by the way,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
that's you get a real education, not just multiplication and division and addition and subtraction.
So with Project World School, we had this idea to bring teens to different places in the world and have these immersive learning experiences in community. And so we combined things like using, the inner world processing, like how do we negotiate? How do we support and be supported? How do we come to consent to say yes to the activities? How do we create community? How do we learn? What is learning? Like all of these things that come from the inside, and having these very intentional conversations and activities surrounding, as well as being outside of our comfort zone and experiencing the world from the outside. So combined, and the consciousness of the two things, and living in community for, anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks,
Yeah,
creates the opportunity to build community, right? Living in
yeah,
community means you have no moments to yourselves. You're
right.
together. We're doing activities. There are structures to the community, meaning, every morning, we've got volunteers. Two of us are volunteering. We're serving the community. We have activities planned. Every night we have circles to unpack and decompress the day and discuss what worked, what didn't work, and then talk about what the plans are for the next day and decide together as a group, 15 teenagers, are we going to do this? And if somebody says no, we don't say, well, you're overruled. We find the why and find a way to make everybody find a yes. Sometimes that takes hours, sometimes that takes many hours, you know, but you have
Yeah,
one many hour session, the next ones are quicker.
yeah.
But that's
And you're still actively doing these retreats and everything, correct?
yeah, we have another one
Okay.
coming up in March, an intro trip for younger teens and tweens here in Mexico, actually in Guanajuato. And then July next year, we have a longer one in Peru, and we're going to Machu Picchu, and we're staying on a farm, and we're cooking cuy. Do you know what cuy is?
I have heard it, but I do not know.
Well, this might not get us many many participants, but we are participating in the traditional, learning the traditional dish of guinea pig.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is a delicacy in some countries. So if
Yeah.
that immediately challenges a person's worldview, ask yourself, what is it about your position that makes this not okay, right? Is this a core value, or is this a judgment? And is it because it's different and it's not part of your cultural understanding? Are you creating a judgment about another cultural practice? I mean,
Right.
we eat pigs, we eat, chickens, we eat cows. Why can't another culture eat something that's available to them and traditionally part of their culture? And then ask yourself, what would it be like? I mean, I understand vegetarians have different, you know,
Yeah,
different desire, but if you're not a vegetarian and you eat meat, what would it be like to step into their shoes and be born in a country that does eat this, and ask yourself, what could I learn from
yeah,
learning how other cultures do things?
yeah. I'm pretty adventurous. I will try just, I'm a avid meat eater
Yeah, me too.
and pretty adventurous. I will try just about anything. There's some things I just draw the line on. I haven't been able to tackle durian fruit.
Oh,
Uh,
it's horrible. I did that last year for the
yeah, I'm not judging anybody over that. I just don't like the smell at all.
evil.
And balut in the Philippines,
Oh,
I
yeah.
draw the line there. No.
To the Philippines yet, but I'd have to. I'd have to only because of my position. Like I have to try everything.
Philippines is amazing. It's honestly, you'll probably really vibe there because it's kind of like they're kind of like island Mexican. A lot of the culture, and I don't say that to insult anybody. The culture is similar. The language is very Spanish influenced, Tagalog. So I saw a lot of similarities. I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat actually,
I
because
think
you got elements of Spain and the Spanish influence. You have the Asian influence as well. So for me, it was a fantastic mix.
I will go one day for sure. Absolutely. I think the grossest thing I've ever eaten is scorpion in uh, Thailand. Ugh.
I did not try that. Okay, so you what cook it, scorpion on a stick? Is that what you ate?
Yeah, I actually bought it already cooked on the stick. So,
You didn't kill your own scorpion?
no, although I did about a week ago in my bedroom.
Yeah, but you didn't cook them and eat them. So
No, I smashed them.
yeah. So
No,
the one that you ate in Thailand, is it the whole thing, or do you eat a part of it, or what's going on there? I don't know.
it on the stick and on the skewer,
Yeah,
and you eat that. The whole body is um, charred, and it's a delicacy. To me, it's
yeah,
just too burnt taste. I didn't like it.
yeah.
Maybe it was the idea as well. And I think another disgusting thing I tasted, I didn't like the taste. It was so gross. It was water snake also sold on a stick
Hmm.
in Cambodia. It just didn't taste good.
What do you think it was the actual flesh of the snake that was bad, or do you think it's the way it was prepared?
I think it was the flesh of the snake
Okay.
because this was the
Uh,
water snake. It was just,
Okay. I haven't had that yet either. I did eat grasshopper tacos in on Holbox here in Mexico.
yeah, in Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
Tastes
had,
like peanuts.
yeah, just little crunchy guys.
Yeah, a little,
Eh,
but
Not my favorite.
not my favorite either.
What are they called? I can't remember the name. I guess for the life of me. I don't remember.
Oh, for grasshopper, the Spanish? Yeah,
Chapulines, yeah.
Japanese. Yep. So when did you say your next world retreat is?
So we have a short one for tweens and younger teens in March, and that's here in Mexico, Guanajuato. And then
Okay.
Peru, we have in July of next year. Both of those are 2025, and you can find the information at projectworldschool.com if you happen to have teens or tweens. We've been doing trips, and they're uh, for 12 or 13 years now. And like you said, we've hosted, hundreds of teens in different locations. And we've really got the facilitation down. We provide such a wonderful experience for these teens to step outside of their comfort zone and really kind of get a taste of independence and the world around them. And we have lots and lots and lots of conversations. Like, why do people in our host country do things differently than people in our home country? And
Right.
why do we create values? Our way is better, their way is worse. Why do you think we create that value statement? Because most people
Right.
do create that value statement, and it helps us to loosen those worldviews that we have a little bit. And that's really the idea. We want to create people that are more globally minded and less just their home country centric.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important, especially for younger people to get a taste of that and learn to view other cultures in a certain way, not like, oh, this is us, we're better.
Yeah.
So evaluate them, experience them. You may not like them, and that's okay. You may not like certain aspects, but like with Mexico, I love Mexico. There's some things about the Mexican culture I love. There's some things about the Mexican culture I don't like. So, but you have to appreciate for what it is. And I see so many Americans coming down here and like they expect everything to operate exactly as it does in the US. I'm like, just
No.
settle down, breathe. It's not going to change because you came down here and decided that it's not working for you. Who gives a shit? Like
Yeah.
it's hilarious how, especially in places like Playa del Carmen, which are
Yeah.
so popular. And it's like Mexico Lights. You get a lot of people who really aren't that worldly, but they want to go to a resort.
Yeah.
And then if they venture out into town, there's just like, what? It's like, again, hopefully that experience opens their eyes and makes them a little bit more accepting of culture. But like I was in a grocery store in Playa del Carmen, and you know, unfortunately, sometimes Americans get a bad rap when they're traveling. And unfortunately, there's a reason for that in many of
Unfortunately, it's
instances.
justified.
It doesn't take too many bad eggs to kind of get the whole group lumped, because I've met a lot of Americans traveling that are absolutely amazing and respectful and all that. But sometimes you just get. I was at a supermarket in Playa, and just it was kind of an older guy and his wife, and they're clearly from the U.S. and they trying to have a conversation with the cashier, and she didn't speak any English, and they were just getting frustrated and speaking louder and louder till they're almost yelling at her. And I was like, tapped him. I'm like, hey, just because you raise your voice is not magically going to make her freaking fluent in English. And they're just like deer in the headlights, like, what? I'm like, stop yelling at her. And I'm like, what do you need? So I kind of translated my own broken Spanish. I was enough, but I think it was just something like you couldn't buy liquor after 5 o'clock on a Sunday, and it was like 6 o'clock, and they were just
Yeah, yeah,
pissed. I'm
yeah.
like,
Ah,
I'm like,
Chedraui. Okay.
yeah. Well, this was mega, but yeah,
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's just funny seeing that. But well, very cool. I really appreciate you coming on. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that? Where do they find you?
Well, I mean, if you search for my name anywhere, I mean, you'll see our TED Talk, you'll see the book that I wrote for parents of teens, you'll find Project World School. I do lots and lots and lots of stuff. So find me, just search for my name, Lainie Liberty, and I'm all over the web. So you can find me just by a quick search. And I'm
Easy to
also on
find.
all the socials. So you can find me on, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, because I think you'd be a great resource, especially for maybe the single moms or even just parents who have kids and they think that's a barrier to them traveling abroad or something. To
No, it's not.
see somebody who experienced it and what they went through can give them a little bit of comfort when it comes to that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for
So,
having me as a guest. I really appreciate it and I loved our conversation.
yeah, that's the thing. I try and keep these to a certain, maybe a little under an hour to kind of keep them going. Like I think we could have talked for 3 hours pretty easily.
Totally.
Totally. So, but yeah, maybe we'll do it again sometime. But I really do appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Take care.